Welcome back to Road to Recovery. Here, it is a pleasure to have you joining us for this program. It really is about providing hope and help and health and wholeness for you if you're struggling with addiction or a family member or friend who is struggling with this issue as well. There is help and hope. It's right here in Fairfield County through the Fairfield County Recovery Center. Steve Rauch here, so happy to be able to help co-host this program and provide additional education and information to help make wise decisions and to make all of our community better because of the opportunity we have to share together. I'm joined again by our regular co-host, the Executive Director of the Recovery Center, Trisha Saunders. Welcome back to Road to Recovery.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Good to see you again.
Last time you were the guest on this program.
Right, I was.
You get to actually be the co-host
Fantastic.
today. Yeah.
That'd be more fun.
I thought you did a wonderful job.
Thank
You helped to educate us about the Recovery Center. And again, one of the goals of this program, people know a lot more about the Recovery Center, what you do and why you do it. And I think that was very important to share. So thank you for your willingness to share.
Absolutely.
You've brought somebody from the Recovery Center with us today. That person is Jodi Clutter. She's a counselor with the Recovery Center here in Fairfield County. Welcome to Road to Recovery, Jodi.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
It is a pleasure to have you here. One of the things I asked Trisha in the inaugural show is give us a little bit of background. Where did you go to college?
I have my undergrad, my bachelor's degree from Marietta College here in Ohio, and I got my master's degree from the University of Dayton at their Capitol campus.
Very good. What was the motivation for you to get involved in this area?
As far back as I can remember, even in high school, I've always been interested in, just as humans, why we do the things that we do. So my undergrad degree was in psychology, and then from there I was hooked and I just wanted more. So I was a glutton and went back for grad school and the master's, and I haven't left yet.
You haven't left yet. Trisha, I'm hearing something similar. Didn't you share that last week, that it was something that intrigued you, and then you pursued it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Jodi just hit it right on the head. I've always been fascinated with why do we do the things that we do, and people are fascinating, and I think people have different motives. What do you think?
I would agree. I think that, we all come from a different background and share our own thoughts on, every aspect of life. So we all bring that baggage, if you will, good or bad, with us.
Sometimes people will pursue things because they've had personal experience, or somebody in their family or close friend has struggled with this area of addiction. Has that been the case for Jodi Clutter?
Not really. Mine's more been my own curiosity. I think that I look at the world through different eyes now than I would have before doing this job. So I think that some of my views have changed since then, but probably not before now.
Yeah, and I think there's some real value in that. I think there is value in those who have kind of traveled the road in a personal way or with their family. But then I think you get a good, clear perspective when it's somebody who can look outside of that picture and provide this information of there is hope, there is help. We can get you from where you are to where you want to be, whole and happy. Have you been able to experience that in your work?
Absolutely. One of the main functions of my job, I run a women's group. It's called the Intensive Outpatient Program. We call it IOP for short. And it focuses on women who have multiple life issues to work on. And they attend this group 3 times a week for a total of 16 weeks. So they spend a lot of time in treatment with us. And we work on family issues, we work on childhood issues, we work on relationship issues, relapse prevention issues. And I have certainly seen successes in there. I have seen women make changes in their lives that I feel will last way beyond the sessions of treatment.
Now, you work only with women, is that correct?
I do have a few males on my caseload, but for the most part it's women, yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting. Trisha, you and I were talking last time about the fact that it's just impacts so many aspects of life. And for ladies, especially ladies with children, they are trying to work through their own issues while being the caretaker of their children. It's a pretty challenging place to be, isn't it?
I think so, and you probably can share some experience of people who no longer have their children in their care or that are working toward getting that back. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I do work with a lot of women who are involved in child protective services and either have lost custody of their children or who are working to get that back through supervised visitation and through reunification plans. And these women just have multiple issues. They come from families who may not only not understand addiction, but don't understand recovery. They have issues with housing, transportation, employment, childcare, all the major life areas usually have some pretty significant struggles for these women.
You said something very interesting, and that is families that don't understand addiction and then families that don't understand recovery. Help me to understand that a little bit better. Because it seems to me that a lot of people understand addiction, at least what it is, or maybe how someone could have become addicted. But I would guess several of us are less familiar with the process of recovery. Help us understand that better.
Sure. I get women in group a lot who will say, gosh, my mom is so sick of bringing me here, so sick of watching the kids while I go to meetings. They just think that I should just be able to stop the drug or the drugs and then be okay and go back to that normal life. And that's not the case. The recovery process, oftentimes means intensive treatment and 12-step meetings. It would be my recommendation for any woman attending my group to attend about 3 12-step meetings a week, to work with a sponsor doing the 12 steps. And in addition to the 9 hours a week that my women are in group, they're also seeing an individual counselor at least once a week, sometimes more. These women also may be involved at another agency, receiving another kind of treatment there, be that parenting treatment through local providers or other specific mental health treatment, working with a psychiatrist. So their schedules are very busy. These are not just folks laying around and using the resources that are available. These are people who are out there moving and attending appointments and making big changes in their lives. And a lot of times their families will play along with that for a minute, and then they get quickly frustrated at how intensive a real recovery program can be.
You talked a little bit about, or Steve mentioned that sometimes it's very helpful to have somebody who's in recovery working with that person, and then there's counseling. And you mentioned the 12-step programs. Can you explain the difference between the two? Sure.
A 12-step program is community-based and it's peer-based. So these are other individuals struggling with addiction who are mentoring folks new to the recovery program and working the steps with them based on their own experience. So a sponsor is someone who has struggled with their own addiction and who has worked through the steps themselves and is working with new folks to bring them on that journey with them.
More familiar, maybe Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, NA
Correct.
or AA, would be a traditional 12-step program. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Trisha, you say that not everybody wants to recover, but the ones that come to the Recovery Center, 60% of them really are looking for help. And they can find help and hope there with people like Jodi Clutter, can't they?
Absolutely. I think that people come in and they feel very safe. I hear a lot of them saying when they're out in the hallway leaving their appointments how much they appreciate it. They want to come back and they get very involved. And really, I would say the women's group that you do becomes a very strong support in their life.
Absolutely.
Can you talk about the environment that what it's like in there for them?
Sure. Right now we have a group size around 12 women, and like I said, we always have a topic that we're working on. So we come into group every day and we have sort of a routine check-in that we do, and that involves each client going around the table and talking about how many days clean they have, if they've attended a meeting since the last group session, if they've had contact with their sponsor since the last group, if they've used anything since the last group. And then we have, in addition to the check-in, we ask them to give us 3 feelings that they have in the moment, and we're very picky with that. We won't let them give any physical descriptions, so no
Like
tired,
a
no
headache
exhausted.
right.
Those don't count because we say we're tired too.
Yeah, there you go.
And we make them say something that they like about themselves, like I'm a good cook or I'm a good friend, and we make them say that they're beautiful every day. So that's routine check-in. We do that every morning, and then we do sometimes kind of a guided meditation because research is indicating that that's helpful to healing from addiction and in recovery. And then after those two things, that's kind of our set everyday thing. So unless there's a crisis, every day we do that. Then we kind of get to the topic and we have packets, handouts of information that they cover. We read from bullet points, we discuss the topic, and everyone has their time to give feedback on it and share their experiences with that particular topic. Then we have a break. Then second hour, we typically do something with that topic. So we do a writing activity, we do an art activity, we do like a empty chair activity, role play stuff. Then we have another break. And then the last hour is the processing part of group, where we kind of scoot the tables to the side, circle our chairs around, and we're able to give the clients time to process issues in their life at that time. So whether they're struggling in a relationship, if they're struggling, making some kind of decision, they can get feedback from their peers. And we are very careful not to use the word advice because we don't like to give advice.
Sure.
Because that has judgment attached to it. We just give feedback. So we even have a model that the clients love for giving feedback. And it's very objective with no judgment. And we teach them to do that in a way to avoid conflict, to stick to the facts, and to start to be aware of their own feelings, which is pretty difficult for some to do. But they learn that, and they learn how to communicate with each other in that way. And that wraps up our 3-hour group, and we come back again in 2 days and do it all over.
Outstanding. When's the next one? Because I want to come.
Tomorrow morning.
I see the need for that. So really, incredible work right there. Folks going through these challenges together, get to support each other, learn together, grow together. It's a wonderful thing. Trisha, we talk about the corollary effects, and we certainly live, I think, in a time where people like instant gratification. Jodi, you referred to that. The family's okay for a couple of weeks, and then, hey, look, you've been going to this meetings, and maybe you've got some medical attention, and you've gotten some spiritual guidance, emotional guidance, support. You should be better now.
Right.
And that's really not how the process works, is it?
No, I think it takes people a while to get to where they are. That requires some change in their life, and it's going to take them a while to make those changes. And like all of us, we might do something right once or twice. I mean, different things that I've tried to change in my life, I didn't always get it right the first time, you know, so we have to have some patience and understanding. And I think we could talk a little bit about the brain chemistry changes that a person goes through too. When you're using a mind-altering chemical, it changes the chemistry in the brain, and eventually, and sometimes very quickly, the person can't function the same without that chemical. So it takes a long time for that chemistry to normalize. Do you have anything to add with that, or?
Most people think that it's just a cheesy thing that we do by doing the positive thing about yourself.
Sure.
And the saying that you're beautiful every day. But those are literally rewiring neural connections in the brain that have been damaged by drug abuse or things like abuse, domestic violence, emotional abuse in the home, those kinds of things. So we're literally repairing neural connections by doing those things.
Very good. We're just about out of time. I'd like to hear maybe one story or reference to a story of somebody or some situation that you experienced where they came in struggling, and after they went through the intensive program, were healthier, happier, more whole. Have you experienced that?
Sure.
Is there any particular situation or story that you may recall?
Sure.
Somebody's going through a challenging time that you would be willing to share?
Sure. I could tell about a client who I saw came into the program. A lot of my women are through the family court program where they're involved with child protective services, and then the case has gone to juvenile court. So they're working with both of those agencies to regain custody of their children. And I've worked with numerous women who come in with, again, all those life areas, the housing, they're homeless, literally living in shelters, living in cars. Their kids are placed either with family or in foster care. They have little to no support in their life, and they're still using. and they've been able to come into group, make the changes that they need, make the connections to other healthy people that they need to make. And they're back in the community with their own place, with their children in the home, with a job, being able to contribute, to our community. And their kids are in activities. Their kids are in sports. Their kids are doing well in school. So absolutely, I've seen those success stories.
And that is really what the Recovery Center is all about, is it not, Trisha Saunders?
That is why we were there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jodi Clutter, thank you for coming. Thank you for the work that you do for clients in Fairfield County and the surrounding areas. We so appreciate your willingness to invest in the ladies primarily, and some gentlemen in our community that are struggling. It is so important to have folks like you who will come alongside, offer guidance, direction, support, encouragement, and help, and be able to enjoy some of the fruit of your labor, and that is to see families put back together, restored. Keep up the good work there at the Recovery Center.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Trisha Saunders, thank you for your leadership at the Recovery Center and for the work that's being done there. It really is providing hope and health and wholeness for folks.
Well, we're happy to do it, and we want people to feel like they can call us at any time, too. People can call and talk to Jodi or me, if you're familiar with us, and we're happy to answer questions. We're there for you.
Thank you for joining us for this Road to Recovery program. Again, you can contact the Recovery Center if you are struggling or know someone who is and would need the services of the Recovery Center. 740-687-4500, 740-687-4500, and you can be on your road to recovery, or your friends and family as well. Join us next time as we'll have another individual who shares with us other elements of hope through this road to recovery. Thanks for joining us today.